Welcome to the Wake Up Dad Show. This is episode number 28.
Remembering that this is a process as opposed to an event. There was an event when your child was born, when you became a father, when you became a dad, but the process of parenting, the process of growing this little thing into a successful human being is a process, and we have to remember that. And I think not to be so hard on ourselves when we have moments where like, gosh, like I messed that one up.
Are you confused and overwhelmed about your role in all the craziness that is being a dad? Are you struggling to create the life you hope for? Are you looking for other dads to share your struggles and your triumphs? Or do you just need help waking up in the morning? Join your host, Dr. Scott Vatcher, as he explores the amazing and sometimes crazy world of being a dad. This is the Wake Up Dad Show.
Hey Dad, and welcome to another episode of the Wake Up Dad Show. Today's guest is an old friend of mine. His name is Alain. I'm
not that old, man.
No, you're an old friend. You're not that old.
This guy is ancient.
And his last name, I think I'm going to try and pronounce it. Desaulniers?
Close. Desaulniers.
Desaulniers. As you might be able to tell, he's got quite a French influence, and I assume that's French. Yeah, cool. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit on today's show. I'm not going to read out a bio. I'm going to let Alain introduce himself, and I don't want you to be modest. I want you to talk yourself up, because that's what bios do. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Well, yeah, I love the people who write bios, because they're the best. They make me sound fantastic. And really, I mean, who I am really doesn't matter. But I am a dad to a 4-month-old daughter, Ev, a husband to my amazing wife, Sarah. I am a chiropractor here in Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way over here in Canada. And through the amazing technology that we have, that we're able to speak like this, like I'm always amazed. So I'm also a fanatic of technology in the sense that I just love stuff. I love learning about stuff, and I get to not only speak about things in my office with my clients, but I also get to travel the world and speak to different audiences, whether they be other chiropractors or people in the corporate world, about just about really taking the essence, this amazing gift and power that we have within us to really be awesome every day in every aspect of our day. And I think if I offer something of significance to the world, is that I just love people, and I just love learning about people, and I love learning about what makes us tick, and then trying to put those things together and delivering it to people that is in an actionable way, that they can take that forward and create this ripple effect through their own lives and through the fabric of our existence. So that's me.
That's awesome. That sounds fantastic. I think we can end the show now.
Let's go.
We're done. Now let's. You did leave one thing out. One of your ways of getting your message out to the world is through your podcast.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, we've got this awesome podcast called Everyday Revolutions, and we've been going for about a year now. When you listen to this, you might be listening to this in 5 years. I don't know. But yeah, we've had this great podcast called Everyday Revolutions, and it was really started. I mean, I love podcast number one. I listen to podcasts whenever I can. One of the things that always stuck with me, because I'm also just like you, Scott, like I'm kind of a seminar junkie. I love going to learn things. I love absorbing new information and strategies. But what I found for my own self, and what I found with others that I get to work with, is that there seems to be a gap between learning these principles of inspiration and motivation, and how to create a successful life and health, and what are the action steps that are needed. So I became very obsessed with asking that question, like, well, how do we take these big ideas and actually make change every day? So that's kind of what we try to do with the podcast is like, okay, let's get these big ideas and then let's break it down into, what do I do? Like, give me something to do.
Give me something to do.
I'm simple like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm simple like that too. I need a list. If anything needs to get done around the house, give me a list and I'll get it done. Or I'll try to get it done anyway.
The cool thing, and this is something you guys do. You do great with your podcast as well. Is that like there's the idea that success leaves clues, and not just we can look at it from all kinds of different aspects. Like we can talk about we can sit here and talk about physical health for an hour or 2 hours or all day. But within that there are certain principles and strategies that can apply to all kinds of other aspects of our lives. And I think that's really powerful is that we can take a step back and really look at, okay, well, what are the underlying principles that kind of pervade every aspect of our existence? And then how do we then start to, apply the different things to everything?
Yeah. I mean,
then we just become then we just create a successful life, as opposed to just, hey, I'm a great dad to my kids, but I suck at my business, or I am fit as I'm very fit, but my business sucks and my kids hate me, and all those things. So because there's things that we do as dads, there's things we do as business people, there's things that we do as individuals that really apply to everything, and it's really kind of uncovering those commonalities. I think this is where the juice is, because then we realize, it's actually not as complicated as we thought. It's very complex, but it's not very complicated.
It's actually really simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really simple.
It's simple, not always easy.
Simple. A friend of ours, Jamie Richards, says it quite well. He says, rinse and repeat. Just like, on the shampoo bottle, it says, give it a wash, rinse, and repeat. It's like to have the best health possible is to figure out the steps that need to be done, which are pretty simple. Maybe not easy to do, but they're simple. And just day in and day out. That's the way it works. And that's how you get a great life, is by doing the things that need to be done to have a great life on a daily basis, and not just when it feels good or when you went to a seminar for 2 or 3 or 4 days. It's figuring out how to make it. I like to call it biohacking when it comes to your health. What things can we do and give you the most bang for your buck. And in the 5 Ps that we talk about on the show, your purpose, power, parenting, providing, and passion, how do you mix them together? How do you, in one action, create change in P number 1, 2, and 4? How do we do that? And so how do we get the most out of life?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the cool things about your podcast too is that we tend to, and I know I slip into this a lot, is that if I feel like I'm lacking in a certain area of my life, let's say in one of those 5 Ps, I will tend to throw myself into that to try to remedy the situation. But sometimes it seems like, it's at the expense of the other ones. And so I think that constant reminder, that constant kind of I've heard it said Kaizen, so constant, small incremental change.
Yeah, right? Constant, never-ending improvement.
Yeah, exactly. Like so listening to this podcast, and if I can teach you anything today, it's to go back and listen to all the other podcasts, because it's really that. I mean, it's remembering that this is a process as opposed to an event. There was an event when your child was born, when you became a father, when you became a dad, but the process of parenting, the process of growing this little thing into a successful human being is a process, and we have to remember that. And I think not to be so hard on ourselves when we have moments where like, like I messed that one up.
Absolutely.
I messed that purpose part up, or I messed this provider part up right now. Like, hey, like we can do something. Like, take it step by step. And like you were saying, I love how you say, done is better than perfect. Done is, and so it's like, let's get this done.
So I call it the magic bullet. And I think today's world is full of ideas where it's like, okay, do this one thing and everything's going to work out fine. Like in the health field, because that's where I'm, an expert, is people want to know the one thing that caused their problem and the one thing that's going to fix their problem. And there is no magic bullet. There's constant, never-ending improvement in all aspects that's going to eventually get you there. But people, that's not sexy. That's not, take this magic bush berry from the Himalayan mountains that we just found and it's going to fix everything in your life. There is none of that. It just, anything you hear that's like that is a lie. It's that simple, because it's never going to happen. It needs to be just simple, step by step, work on it day to day.
Right. I think there's also, the idea also sometimes that we try to not necessarily we oversimplify things, but that there's like this idea that, the one magic bullet, which is not true. However, I think on the other side of that is that, we make things because things are so complex, we have so many moving parts. Just the fact that there's more than one P to me is like, oh my gosh, okay, there's a lot going on here. But, and when it comes to our physical health, when it comes to, success in life, we think because all of these things are so complex, we automatically assume that they're complicated, but it's not. So I think it was Buckminster Fuller that said that, simplicity on the far side of complexity, meaning that there's all this complex stuff happening, but we can really boil it down. And I think it's the beauty of this podcast is that it boils things down into the essence of what is really needed. And then we can just apply our energy to that. And once we apply that, then we can move on to the other thing that might be a little bit more complex or, that sort of thing. Like it's like kind of like, crawling before you can walk, before you can run, before you can sprint, before you can, whatever. Right.
And looking at that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. So, let's look into that a little bit further when we look at the 5 Ps, because that's what this show is all about. It's dedicated to those dads who want more. The ones who've fallen asleep and become unconscious, they don't even know who they are anymore as men, as dads, as lovers, as people. And that's where I came up with this idea of the 5 Ps. So we've got purpose, power, parenting, providing, and passion. With those 5, is there one that stands out to you as something that you have either in the past had a struggle with or are currently struggling with that could provide a lesson to the listeners?
Well, yes. Actually, a couple. Well, the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to you talk about power, and I know that power in the sense that we our physical bodies that we need to show up as best as we can, and I know it's something that I struggled with, and that especially before my daughter was born, and trying to support my wife the best that I could so that she could be happy and comfortable and healthy and everything like that, is that I let myself go. I let my own health, my own power dwindle. And so all of a sudden, when I was needed the most, when when my daughter was born, I'd put on a little bit of weight. So I know what that means is that I go through these kind of highs and lows throughout the day. I'm more exhausted than I need to. I don't have the energy that is required and that I want to have to be there with my family and for my family. But I didn't show up as the best version of myself. And I think I would tend to then take it a step further and then beat myself up over it, thinking, oh my God, I'm a terrible dad because, I've got these little love handles that are not setting an example of good health and fitness to my daughter. Granted, she's only 4 months old, so she doesn't understand a whole lot of that consciously at this point, but I know that she is a sponge and she learns from my actions. And so, but the beauty is that I recognize that, and I can then start taking appropriate action towards that, like towards making that better. And, that constant, never-ending improvement. It also creates, it's a cycle of falling, but then always getting back up. And I think that's a powerful thing for my daughter as well, is to see that, her dad is, for lack of a better term, like he F's things up sometimes, but he always does his best, and he gets back up, and he's the type of person that is going to just always do his best.
Yeah, and
I would expect that from her as well as she grows up.
That's an important point to make. It's really what the podcast was named about. Your Wake Up Dad is the idea of, wake up and recognize where your life is. If your life is doing great, perfect, fantastic. It could always be better. There's no perfect life. I think that's, a myth. I don't think anyone out there doesn't have challenges, but it's all about looking at what's happening and being aware of it, being conscious, and then therefore being able to choose to make a decision. Because, back in the day, and I'm sure you've probably heard of the Landmark Forum and the Landmark series of seminars.
Yeah, I've been through those. I've been through a couple of them.
Yeah, me too. And there's, they talk about this idea of there's things that you don't know. Like I'm not a brain surgeon, so I don't know how to do brain surgery, but I know that I don't know that. There's things that like I know about nutrition and exercise. I know that really, really well. But then there's this third category of the things that you don't know. And that's where the magic happens. That's where transformation can take place. That's where, if there was a magic bullet, that's probably what the magic bullet really is being aware of those things that you weren't aware of before. And then all of a sudden, a light switch turns on. It's like, wow, yeah, okay. Now I can do something about this.
Right, totally. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see that happen in people. And it's a beautiful thing to have that, to be able to have that realization myself as well.
And so you mentioned two P's that you've struggled with. So power was the first one.
Oh yeah, come on, man. No, power was definitely one of them. And I wouldn't say it was so much. Well, I guess it was. I mean, it's beautiful how all of these P's tend to overlap as well.
Yeah.
Something that became very apparent when my daughter was born. Is I remember thinking, okay, so we had a home birth and my daughter was born. Excuse me, my daughter was born in a birthing pool back in her room, actually in her little room where she's going to grow up. And after she was born, like we put her on my wife's chest in the birthing pool, and she was there for probably about 10 minutes or so. And at the point they waited, I can't remember, like time just essentially stood still. If you're a dad who's been there for your daughter or your kid's birth, you know what I'm talking about. Like time it just doesn't exist anymore. So whatever time went by, and they were ready to cut the umbilical cord. The pulsing had stopped and everything. And so my wife went to the bathroom to birth the placenta. She wasn't really comfortable where she was, and so they gave me my daughter. And so I walked over to our bedroom with my daughter, and up to that point I had been, not that I wouldn't say stoic, but like I was really doing my best to leave my every emotion I had other than whatever love and support and power I can transfer to my wife during the birthing process. I kind of left it out. And when I got back to our bedroom holding my daughter for the first time, like I lost it. Totally lost it. I just felt every emotion from total panic to complete ecstasy and everything in between. And one of the things, for whatever reason, it kind of came to my mind was I thought about, and I can't remember who taught this to me kind of in this fashion first, but I remember hearing something about to live a successful life, start by living if you want to become a master of your life, start by mastering your week. If you want to become a master of your week, start by mastering your day. If you want to become a master of your day, start by mastering your morning. And it was the whole idea about, how we wake up and how we present ourselves in the day has a strong influence as to how that day is going to go. And so I've set up, to the best of my ability, a very powerful and significant morning routine for myself, so I can really get my day going and really live with as much passion and purpose as I can. And then I was thinking about that as I'm holding my daughter, and I was thinking, so the morning of life is her infancy. And if she's going to get a good start in life, if she's going to be successful in life, it's hyper important that she leads a successful, infancy. And it became very apparent to me that as much as I know that at some point, because I'm not perfect, I'm going to, that's going to be communicated somehow to my daughter that I'm not perfect and I'm going to mess things up along the way. But, that's okay. But the importance of how I show up became so hyper important to me in that moment. And it became very apparent. Like, it was this realization, like, holy crap, like, this is for real. I can't mess around anymore. This is not just me. I'm just not messing up my own life when I make mistakes. I'm starting to mess up her life too. And so I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a struggle, but it's something that I know is like of top of mind all the time, that whatever I do is in some fashion or form being transferred over into and through my daughter.
Absolutely. And I think it in that sort of scenario, you can feel really overwhelmed by that, and to go, man, I can never screw up. I'm going to screw my kid up.
Yeah.
So it's a big place to be in, and remember, dads out there listening, trust me, you're going to screw up if you haven't yet. I doubt you haven't yet, to be honest, because that's just part of life. But the thing about screwing up is learning the lesson from it. So of course we want to be doing our best, but really I think making sure that we are aware of when we screw up. We don't sweep it under the rug. We take responsibility for it. Self-responsibility is huge to, just make it right again. I think that's a really important lesson for the dads out there listening.
Yeah, that's really what it instilled in me. That's a perfect word, is responsibility. Like, I need to be, and I think the key in that is being responsive. So knowing that we're going to mess up, I'm going to mess up. I mess up every day. I messed up many times already today. And, I said I haven't even had dinner and I've messed up already. Like, man. But to be responsible means to be responsive and taking action on those things. And
Definitely.
Making sure that, like you're saying, then it all goes back to done is better than perfect. Like, don't not do things because they're not perfect. Just get them done, and just take, it's something that, while I may not be, a huge advocate for like 12-step programs and recovery programs like that, there's a beautiful saying, or there's a beautiful idea that is pervasive in like all those kind of anonymous programs, like those 12-step programs, is that just do the next right thing. So You may have relapsed, you may have effed up, you may have done whatever it is, but now just take the next right step. Do the next right thing. And that's, I think, as I know as a dad, I will beat myself up constantly about, well, I didn't do this right. I want to be the best. But that's okay. Just what's the next right step? And if I can take the next right step, that leads into the next right step and the next right step. And then it just creates a ripple effect and just a momentum that just becomes way more powerful.
So speaking of steps, and then you mentioned earlier, something that might help some dads out there that are sort of trying to work on the big picture by working on the small stuff. First, with your daily routine, you mentioned about a morning routine. Would you like to give dads a few tips or pointers about some things that you actually do to give them some ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. So I get up and I drink heavily. No. No. And this is actually something that, I remember when I first had my daughter, it was like, so I had this like rock solid, bulletproof, morning routine that I did. I never missed. Like, I was committed. And anyway, granted, it took me 15 years to get there, to get that rock solid commitment. But we're actually finally stuck. But as soon as my daughter came, it was all of a sudden, I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning before, and all of a sudden, when I realized that, I'm putting my daughter down at 4:46 in the morning from, she got up and fed, and then I had to walk her for a little bit, and like, I'm getting up in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that did not feel great. So for the first little bit, like, there was a lot of adjustment. Like, okay, how do I still get the most out of this with still making sure that, I'm not just being dogmatic about it. Like, I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, regardless of whatever happens. I know that I can become a little bit more flexible. And I think that's something that I've learned as a dad. Like, it's one of the biggest lessons that I've gotten is just to be able to be more flexible, because Their schedules change all the time. So mine does a little bit. So it varies as to what time it is typically. But usually it is anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes that I will take consistently now before, when I get up, where I will get up and, first of all, I look myself in the mirror and I say, let's get started. And for whatever reason, I don't know, that works for me. It's like, it kind of pumps me up. Let's get started. And then I will go and journal for a few minutes. I'll write down about anything that I may have felt like kind of left over from the day before, things I didn't want to take care of in terms of maybe things, if I didn't leave things right with my wife, or it's just something that's kind of on my mind. So I just want to, it's kind of like a brain dump. I want to get everything out of my mind first thing, so that I can just out of my mind. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's written down, and I'm kind of simple like that. If it's written down, okay, fine. I can forget about it for now because it's written down. And then I will go through, and I have a list of affirmations that I run through. There's like probably, I don't know, it's about a page. I don't know how many words it is, but I don't know, it probably takes me a good minute and a half to 2 minutes to say them. I kind of go through and just affirm to myself that, who I am and who I strive to be. And I'll usually listen to it with some sort of music. Actually, most of the time, oddly enough, it's the song Ode to Joy, an old classical tune that I first heard or first became popular in my mind when I watched my favorite movie, which is Dead Poets Society. So if you ever watched that, it's a fantastic movie.
Long time ago, I should watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I just watched it a couple months, or not even, a couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah, my wife went away with our daughter for a day to go see her parents, and I had like the house to myself, and like my perfect night was like, all right, I'm going to order some Thai food, I'm going to watch Dead Poets Society, and be in bed that night. It was awesome. Man, partying. Woo! So anyways, yeah, so they talked about, that movie's all about learning the principles to, sucking the marrow out of life and just kind of being the best that we can be and just enjoying ourselves and just living with as much passion as possible. And one of the songs that they play as in one of the scenes is Ode to Joy. And I can't remember the composer, Mozart, Bach, maybe Mozart. I can't remember. Anyways, doesn't matter. Ode to Joy. Look it up. So I would play that on my headphones, and that's very inspiring to me. And so I would say my affirmations. Then I go through a routine. Even if I'm going to the CrossFit gym or something later on that day, I will do 3 sets of 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, and 10 sit-ups. And that just kind of gets my blood going a little bit. And then from there, actually, as that is all going on, I have a French press of coffee that's being made, and then I have a bulletproof coffee. You're familiar with bulletproof coffee, right?
Very much so, yes. If you go to the website, www.thewakeupdadshow.com, put in your email, and there's a video of me showing you exactly how to make a bulletproof coffee out there.
Yeah, see how I did that? See how I set that up? Yeah, so go check that out. But yeah, bulletproof coffee, I swear by it, and it makes all the difference. I look forward to it every day. So yeah, so once my sit-ups, push-ups, and air squats are done, I get to enjoy my coffee. And by then, yeah, that's probably about 20, 25 minutes. And then I go have a shower. And my shower over the last 2 months, anyways, has been, I'll start out with, a nice warm shower, and I'll end with about a minute to 2.5 minutes of freezing cold water. And not only does that wake my ass up, but it also, if you can look at that too, it's very, very helpful for your health, for immunity, for, you talk about biohacks, like it's just an awesome biohack. So I'll start with that. And that's my morning.
Cool.
And then I go off. And the other thing is that I try to do that with as minimal noise as I can, because I don't want to wake anybody up, because it's actually always before anybody else gets up in our house.
Yeah, I could never get into the cold shower thing. I tried. I guess maybe that's why I ended up in Australia from Canada. I'm just a bit of a wimp when it comes to the cold. I do know it is definitely a great biohack. So if anyone is out there loving the cold showers, then yeah, make sure you keep doing it, because it's actually really, really healthy to do. But couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it's something that for the first I don't know, literally probably up until 2 weeks ago, like I would dread it. I would, but it's like my showers started getting longer and longer and longer because I was like, okay, I know it's coming. Oh, I'll just like, I'll sit in here another minute. Then I'll do it.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I'm in the shower for 15 minutes. I'm like, geez, I got to go to work. So, but now, 2.5, a month and a half, 2 months, 2.5, whatever it is, like I'm actually I guess I look forward to the after effect. It still is kind of painful to do it, but it's like kind of like we teach with everything. Like, change is not comfortable necessarily, but the payoff of it, I love. So I will endure the pain of it to get the payoff because the payoff is great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's like anything. You're looking at the 5 Ps and you think, oh crap, like the passion in my relationship is totally gone and it's going to be extremely painful to get that back on track. But if you start to focus on the payoff, like that's awesome. And the payoff usually, most always, is way, way more significant than the amount of pain that we perceive it's going to take to get to there.
Carrot and the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrots are good.
Carrots are good. Sticks, yeah, not so good. So tell us a real quick story about a lesson that you learned from your dad.
Okay, so I did not prepare anything. So the first thing that's come into my mind, because I'm simple like that. The first thing that comes to mind is I remember my dad when I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, maybe 15 years old. I was at a soccer tournament. We were, I don't know, it was probably 2 hours away from where we live. We were at a soccer tournament for the weekend, and my dad came out with us. And for those who have read my bio, you'll see that not only am I a chiropractor, but I am the product of a family of about 40, now we're 44 chiropractors, I believe.
Wow.
So my dad, not only is my dad a chiropractor, but now my mom is a chiropractor. She graduated 10 or so years ago, and I have 3 siblings that are chiropractors. 2 of them are married to other chiropractors, and all kinds of people, right? So anyways, my dad's a chiropractor, all to say. My dad came, he brought me to my soccer tournament and, was sitting on the sidelines, and I don't remember much about that, like him being on the sidelines, but what I do remember, and I don't know why this is coming to me now, like how this kind of came up, but there's our goalie, this guy, Rudy, who injured himself on the field. And the first guy to come to his aid was my dad. My dad didn't know this guy at all. Didn't know this kid. He was just some kid who got injured. But I think, granted, he had some expertise in health and recovery and injury and things like that. He ran out on the field and to help Rudy out. And I don't even remember what happened, like what he did or how he helped him or something like that. But I just remember feeling so proud. To me, it was like I was this awesome kid because my dad was so freaking amazing. Like he showed up. He was like the hero in that moment. Like he came and saved this kid, right? Yeah. I don't even know what happened. I don't remember what happened, but
you just remember the feeling.
I just remember, and I think that's stuck with me. And it's so weird. Like I'm 38 years old now. I'm not as old as you made me out to be when you first introduced me. But I'm 38 years old now, and I still think of my dad as the same when I was just a little kid. Like he was my hero. Like he was just the coolest thing ever, and he still is. And interestingly, like as I'm older now, I have a daughter. I think like, man, like if she could see me like half as cool as I think my dad is, like I'm laughing. Like this. I've succeeded. I've arrived. And I don't know. And I think now I can reflect on oh man, like I did some pretty shitty things when I was a kid that my dad probably is not very proud of me about. But yeah, he loved me all the way through it. And he may or may not feel like he's the hero of my life. Like I've messed up my daughter already. She's only 4 months old, but and I can get down on myself and all things about it. But like, I don't know, it's a cool thing to be able to reflect and still be able to see my dad as my hero. And I hope that never goes away. And, you know, it also just teaches me the lesson that, you know, we're all the same in the sense that we all just want someone to look up to. We all want to aspire to be like someone, even though, like, I know my dad has his faults and he has his challenges and he has his things I'm sure he screwed up on, but like, that doesn't matter. Like, there's this air of this awesomeness that I just still remember. And that's just what I aspire to.
Yeah. I think we all want to be superheroes to our kids. And so, you know, you having that vivid memory of feeling what it's like to have your dad be the superhero, I think will help you to be the superhero you want to be for your kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know, I can throw that out there for dad work for this episode, guys, is like, you know, wanting to be the superhero for your kids. Which of the 5 Ps do you need to step up to the most to create that superhero so that your kids can look at you that way? So I think that would be a great way to end the show.
Fantastic.
So do you
get to work, dads and me?
All of us. You're not alone out there, Dad. We're all working on it. We're all doing the best we can, and the best we can get better every day. So how do people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm everywhere, man. The podcast, best thing. So our podcast is everydayrevolutions.net. I'm sure you'll have it in your show notes. Just go to the show notes here. Just read everything that's on. Just do whatever Scott says. That's my thing. Awesome. So, well, yeah. So, I mean, everydayrevolutions.net. You know, I'm in Vancouver. You know, I'm on Twitter at Dr. Alain, DRALAIN. I'm on Facebook. You can look me up. If you could figure out how to spell my name, you look me up there. Anyone in Vancouver, hey, I'm speaking at different things and wherever. I'm places. But yeah, check out the show notes page. My information will be there.
You're kind of a big thing.
My mom says I'm kind of a big deal.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Alain. Go to the show notes page. Have a look. Go to the website, www.thewakeupdadshow.com. Have a look around. Put your name in the map at the bottom, guys. I looked up on some of the stats, and I can see that we've got about 35 countries around the world now listening, but I do not have 35 countries on my world map on the website. So I'd love to get your names and places of where you're listening from all around the world on my world map. It is a sort of a goal of mine to get every country in the world on that map for somebody listening around there. So share the episode, guys. This is a great one to look back on. And thank you so much, Alain.
My pleasure.
Do you want to know more about the Wake Up Dad movement? Go to www.thewakeupdadshow.com to download any and all past issues of the show, claim your free gift, or to directly ask Dr. Scott any questions you have. Continue the conversation on the Facebook group Wake Up Dad. Share this podcast with other dads on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure to subscribe to the show and give us a rating so we can reach more dads. And dads, one last thing. Wake up!